appointment, so don't want her to miss anything important. So is Linda here, ready? Okay. So I'll call the meeting to order. It's 4:02. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1.2, adopt the agenda. There any adjustments to the agenda as it was posted?
I have none.
All right. And if not, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as posted?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as posted.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Bianca? Okay. Rosemary?
Aye.
And I also approve. Motion carries. The agenda's adopted as posted. The consent agenda, 2.1, consideration of approval of warrants and payroll for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. 2.2, consideration of approval of warrants batches 0730, 0813, 0824, and payroll for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School. 2.3, consideration of approval of minutes from the August 13 board meeting. 2.4, consideration of resignations, hires, leaves, and change of assignments. Are there any corrections or comments about the consent agenda?
I'm just curious about the amount of folks who are not returning. Is it just coincidence? Is it because of our transition into virtual learning? You know, because I don't see any hires to replace that amount of people. So I just a little bit about
It's a variety of reasons. Some of them took jobs at other locations, like one of the school psych took a job at HCOE, and you know, various reasons, but mostly all of the instructional aides, it's because of doing the home-based independent study.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the centers didn't need you know, the aides as much as they would have if it had been in person. And I think for the most part, when we do move back to in person, that those aides will come back. But it just, you know, as of right now, some of the centers were able to find, you know, things for them to do, but not all of them. So that was a big part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or adjustments? All right, is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Rosemary?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I also approve. Motion carries. Item 3, public comments. Comments by the public. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedures to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those items are heard. Any comment? All right. Item 4, 4.1, I'll open the public hearing for the learning continuity and attendance plan for Northern United Humboldt Charter School.
And Jerry, I just wanted to make one comment in this section. The Humboldt plan actually did go through a little bit of edit just today. Yesterday, Humboldt County Office of Education completed their final review of this document and gave some suggestions, some feedback. So on page 13, oh yeah, go ahead, Linda.
What time did you open the hearing, Jerry? And I just want to remind you that I need an opening time and a closing time.
Yes, sorry. Let's say 4:08.
It was 4:02.
No, the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so on page 13 of the Humboldt plan on the document, I just added about 4 sentences, and I just want to let you know what those additional sentences are. You will see a box that says school nutrition on page 13. And it said, families will be notified at teacher meetings and through Dial My Call that anyone who wants to be provided meals can make a request. Arrangements will be made for food to be provided to students who request it on a weekly basis. For those that cannot make it to one of our facilities to pick up food, delivery will be made available. So that's where it ended, like I think on the document you have, and I just added a few sentences there, and it says, safety and social distancing precautions will be put in place when serving meals during in-person instruction and distance learning. For distance learning, staff will wear masks and gloves and stay 6 feet away from students' families. Meals will be placed in individual bags and set on a table for students to pick up. Students will pick up their meals at a pre-scheduled time to avoid congregating of large groups. The meals provided will follow the USDA breakfast meal pattern. And that was, like I said, that was a suggestion per HCOE after they did their review. So I just wanted to let you know that on the document that's in the public hearing, for the public hearing right now, the additional sentences are in there.
All right. Are there any comments or questions?
Rosemary has her hand up.
I had a question. It's on page 5, and it talks about the purchasing of the face masks, shields, and other PPE for students and staff. And the next line is to purchase hand sanitizer. And I have the same question for Siskiyou as well. Didn't HCOE, in conjunction with the state, provide a large amount of this equipment for the schools? And if so, is this our cost of what they provided?
They provided what is considered a 3-month supply. So this is our cost beyond the 3-month supply. There was no cost to the 3-month supply that the state provided.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? None? All right. Well, just for clarification, Sherry, this learning continuity and attendance plan is in lieu of what?
It is in lieu of doing an LCAP this year, local control accountability plan. This is in lieu of that. So because of the closure last year, being closed the last few months of school, that's when an LCAP would have been written. That's when we would have gotten community stakeholder feedback. That's when we would have been presenting it to you. And so because of the closure and the uncertainty with what was going to happen in the fall, the state decided that instead of doing the traditional LCAP that we have been doing, instead last year, we did what was called a COVID-19 operations written report. I don't know if you remember that. We did that and then this. And so this is basically what our plan is to make sure that we're continuing to educate our students, including providing nutritious meals and mental health services and things like that, how we're going to ensure engagement while we're in this unusual time. We will be developing a traditional LCAP. We're going to be starting working on that now, that will be put in place for the fall of next year, and that will be a 3-year plan, but we'll be working on it all this year. So you'll be starting to hear about that soon. But so this is really in lieu of the traditional LCAP. And one other just quick comment about that is the LCAP, the traditional LCAP that we do, it has a section in it that's called the federal addendum. And that speaks specifically to how we would be spending our title money, our federal dollars. Because that wasn't built into this plan, this learning continuity and attendance plan, we're going to have to do an additional plan that speaks to how we're going to spend our federal dollars. And that's called a SIPSA, Single Plan for Student Achievement. And so that's another plan that you'll be seeing soon in the next several months. What we have to develop that.
All right.
For this
well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, that's, I just wanted, for the benefit of our, actually for everybody, but certainly for Jeff to understand what this is all about. So if there's no further comment or questions, I will close this public hearing on the learning continuity and attendance plan for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. And Linda, it's 4:15. All right, moving on to 4.2. And the public hearing for the learning continuity and attendance plan for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School. And so I am opening the public hearing for this at 4:16 p.m.
And I was just going to make a quick comment. There's no changes or anything to this one versus what you have in your packet. The kind of the regulations around this, this learning continuity plan, the county offices review it and give suggestions, but we're not under any obligation to make those changes. They don't actually approve it, they just review it. Siskiyou County has already reviewed this as well, though they may review it a little bit more. After the board approves it, which is on our agenda for tomorrow, we have 5 days to get it to our county offices as well as put it on our website. And then the county office has a certain number of days after that to continue to review it and give any suggestion or feedback to us. If they do have any feedback or suggestions and we incorporate their suggestions, we're under no obligation to have the board approve it again, but I will let you know if they have any changes, after this.
Thank you, Sherry. Are there any questions or comments about the Siskiyou Charter School plan? No,
No.
none? No? Oh, all right. Then I will close this public hearing for the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, and it is 4:17 p.m. Linda. All right, moving on. 5.1, approval of the physical education policy revisions.
So you may remember we discussed this during last school year. It was brought to me from some of the high school teachers actually brought this forward. And then Jamie Elsmore, who was our PE content specialist, agreed. And you might remember, and we have in there the previous policy, or current policy, I should say, the policy that is right now. And the way it's written is that if a student does not pass the presidential or fitness test, then they have to continue to take PE every year until they either pass or until they graduate. So instead of taking the traditional 2 years of PE that most high schools require, sometimes our students have to take 4 years of PE because they don't pass that physical fitness test. And what happens, because we have this policy in place, is that when we get a student transfer to us, in particular, let's say a 12th grader, who needs a certain number of credits to graduate, if they haven't ever passed the fitness test, then they have to sign up for PE as one of their courses. Well, it may impact them so that they have to take over 40 units then, because there's already a certain number of courses that they have to take to graduate that they haven't met yet. And so because this is not a policy that other high schools in our area have, in either area have, it's not a common policy for high schools to have, a student who had been attending someplace else had not planned for this, and then they transfer to us, and now all of a sudden they have to take more PE classes that they were unaware of when they transfer to us. And so the message that I had gotten, the feedback that I had gotten from high school teachers, is that this had a significant impact on people's ability to graduate in a timely manner. Because instead of being able to complete the credits they needed to graduate, they had to have room for PE credits too. So the suggestion was made that we basically have the same policy that other high schools do, which is 20 credits of PE is what's required, regardless of whether or not you have passed the physical fitness test. So what we have in here is the policy as it's written right now. That's the second one that was in your packet, and the first one is what my recommendation is. So anyway, I'll open it up to any questions or thoughts. I know we have a couple high school teachers, Julie's on here, who's a current high school teacher, and I know Kirk has definitely had high school students too. I don't know if any of you want to speak to this, or if any of the board members have any questions about it.
I would agree that it's kind of one of those policies that I think needs to be changed as well. I've had several kids that have been impacted by the fact that they, may not have passed the California State Fitness Test, and then they will have to, they come to us from a school as a senior, as you said, or, even as a junior, and they have a lot of units to make up, because we have other things that are required, at our school that might not be required at other schools, like computer skills, for example, and different things like that. So I would agree that this is a policy that I would like to see change, because it has definitely impacted some of my students. And
I see Rosemary's hands up too.
I really like this little feature. I can raise my hand. My question is, for this school year, is the state still asking that they do the physical fitness testing, that it be submitted to them in June, or are they allowing districts to file a waiver?
As of right now, it is still on. It's still a requirement, though there's definitely a lot of talk to waiving the requirement for this year. It was waived last year. One thing that they have already waived for this year is the requirement for PE minutes. You guys may know, or you may not know, this is a quirky thing in California Ed Code. There is a certain number of minutes that are required for students to participate in PE, not for any other subject area. There's no minimum requirement for math or English language arts or science, but there's a minimum number of time that a student has to spend in PE. Those minutes have been waived for this year. And like I said, the physical fitness test was waived last year. But as of right now, it's in place for this year, but we'll see. You know, like I said, there's definitely talk about it being waived, so I'm not sure at this point. Kirk?
And I also think the reporting, the results to the state, so it's supposed to, you know, happen every year, but the reporting only happens every other year now. So
yeah, that has actually changed. You're right. They changed that. I think it was like last year or the year before. We're not doing the reporting like it used to be either. Yeah. And so with this, if you guys do decide to make this change with the policy, I would also recommend that we say that it is effective for every, you know, effective for this current school year, the beginning of this current school year, and effective for all enrolled students. So in other words, sometimes when we've changed a policy for graduation requirements, we have the policy start for incoming ninth graders that year, meaning it's still, the old policy still stands for sophomore, juniors, and seniors. That I don't want to do that for this one. I would like it to be effective for all grade levels, everyone who's enrolled right now, because it's the juniors and seniors that are impacted by it, really. And so I don't know if that made sense, how I explained that, but.
Yes. So the motion would need to be approval for the current academic year and applied to all currently enrolled students.
Correct.
Okay.
I
Jeff.
see Jeff's hands up.
So I guess my question is this: is there no minimum requirement now for physical education?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay, but they don't have to meet any level of achievement or activity. I mean,
There's still the physical fitness test that will still be administered as of right now this year. Changing this policy just means that if they don't pass that physical fitness test, they have to keep on taking a PE class, you know, if we don't change this policy. And some students never pass the physical fitness test. Some never do. And so they have to, you know, take all 4 years of PE with the way that it is right now.
so is there a grade that's administered for that activity or not? Or is it just pass, fail, or, I mean, I don't understand. Are they getting credit for doing nothing? I guess is my question.
Okay, no, there's no difference in credits. So they take a physical education course, and that has standards, state standards, and they will do that for 2 full years. And each of those years give them 10 credits. So the graduation requirement would be 20 credits of PE course versus 40 credits of PE course.
and the PE testing we're talking about is
Now I understand.
the PE testing we're talking about is similar to the end of year summative testing. The PE test is part of the CASP umbrella, and ninth graders, all ninth graders take it, and then
Okay.
any portion that you don't pass, you continue trying to pass just that portion.
Yeah.
And I think the big deal too is like what Sherry said, a lot of times kids don't pass this test. And so they're stuck with 4 years of taking PE. And many of them will choose to do that as an elective anyway, but the other side of the coin is that, you know, they may have units to make up in more academic courses, and this really does cause a large amount of units to have to be in a student's, you know, master agreement.
Right.
Yeah, this is reducing the graduation requirement from 40 credits of PE to 20 credits of PE.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Just remember to include what was mentioned earlier.
I'll make a motion to approve the physical education policy revisions that should be enacted for all enrolled students.
Is there a second?
I'll second that
Wait a
with
minute.
a slight change for the beginning this current year.
Got it.
Linda? I can't hear you.
I was just going to say it needs to be effective this current year. So now that Rosemary added that, who actually made the motion? Rosemary? Or
No, Bianca. So Bianca has to edit, has to revise her original motion to say current school year.
I'll make a motion to approve the physical education policy revision for the current school year for all enrolled students.
And I'll second
Is-
that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and I also approve. Motion carries. Moving on to 5.2, approval of the Northern United Charter School 2020-2021 annual goals.
So you guys remember that what we had been doing for the last couple years was adopting our LCAP goals as our annual goals. Well, this year, because we didn't have an LCAP, I brought those same goals for you guys to think about at the last board meeting. And one of you smart people, I don't remember which one of you it was, said to think about looking at what we have already through the lens or the filter of COVID and what's going on now. And so on the background sheet for this item, I included what the original goals were, but then I did a new sheet with my attempt at looking at it with a COVID lens. So goal 1, you may have noticed when you looked at that, the learning continuity and attendance plan we just talked about, one of the big things in there was addressing learning loss. So the idea of not having the in-person instruction, you know, at the end of last year and now for this semester, there's a fear that there would be some learning loss. And so goal 1 is where I kind of targeted that. So Northern United Charter Schools will identify students with learning loss as a result of school closure due to COVID-19 and provide intervention in order to improve student performance outcomes in the core academic areas. So you can see, you know, I took that previous goal, NUCS will improve student performance outcomes in the core academic area, and kind of addressed the potential learning loss that could happen in academics. And so just so you know, we'll talk about this again next month, I think it is. We have an assessment that we're giving all students right at the beginning of the year to see if we can figure out if there has been some learning loss. In addition, those students with, you know, kind of a higher need, we are reaching out to them individually to, like, for example, students who maybe have an IEP or, you know, foster youth, homeless youth. We're reaching out to them individually to see if they want in-person instruction, you know, if that's something that they would be willing to do. But again, we'll be giving intervention, which may be in-person tutoring and things for students that are having a learning loss. So that's what I did with goal 1, and that's kind of what I did with each of these goals. The second one, because it kind of had to do more with 21st century learning, we're just making sure on this one that everybody has the tools they need to access, either if it's, if it's Zoom or whatever it is. We're looking at giving students desks at home because not everybody has a good place to work. So kind of whatever tools it is that they're needing for this at-home time, that's, kind of what goal 2 addresses. And then the third one, the third one is all kind of about, normally it's about climate, school climate and parent engagement. And how is that done in a time when you're doing in-home school? What is your climate? What's your positive school climate? And so we developed this goal with that in mind. So what are remote opportunities for parents and community members to be involved? What engagement strategies are we going to use to make sure that students are staying engaged? And a big part of that learning continuity plan, we discuss what we're going to do if students are missing their meetings or not coming in on the Zoom meeting. Like, what are the steps we're going to take to ensure that they stay engaged? So that's really, to me, these 3 goals kind of are very similar to what we had before, but really looking at it, like I said, through that COVID lens and kind of the unique challenges that we have right now, in particular during this semester where we've, determined that we're doing the in-home independent study.
Very good. As far as the desks at home go, I understand that Eureka City Schools is selling off desks.
Free. They're free, actually. They're not for sale.
Yeah, free. And not, excuse me, now, not selling, but getting rid of desks. And you just say how many you need and go by and pick them up.
Yeah, and a school in Siskiyou is doing the same thing.
So, are there any questions?
Looks like
I
Jeff
have a
has his hand
question.
up, so does Rosemary.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So who's facilitating the?
I can't hear him. Can you guys? I don't know if it's
No.
my internet. Yeah,
No.
you're not on mute, but all of a sudden your sound cut out. Try that again, Jeff.
Hello?
Yeah, I think you're having a unstable connection, maybe.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So my question is, who's facilitating getting the desks and then giving them to the students?
Well, a couple things are happening. One is we did notify all staff about the free desk opportunity at Eureka City Schools. And that one is based on, they're going to give students, their own currently enrolled students, desks first. And so families just have to call and get on a list to find out. But the other thing that we're doing that actually Wendy is coordinating, and she has sent it out to all the teachers already, if somebody wanted one of those lap desks, the ones that are just kind of like the hard surface on top of kind of like a padded thing that sits on your lap, that's something that we would be ordering. And actually Wendy is doing, taking the orders for that.
Okay. So the families are responsible for getting the desks themselves, going to the school district and just picking them up?
If they get one through Eureka?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Rosemary, your hand's up too.
I have an answer to your question, Sherry. You were asking who the brilliant mind was that suggested that we look through the COVID lens, and that was our good ambassador, Bianca.
Well, thank you, Bianca. Good job. That was smart thinking.
Thanks, Rosemary. Sherry, I think you did a wonderful job, especially in your summary, like kind of giving us the bullet points of the way that you attacked each goal. So thank you for explaining it like that.
Very good. So any other comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the goals as presented for the 2021 school year.
And second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Rosemary?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And I also approve. Motion carries. All right, moving on. Report. 6.1 enrollment and attendance report. Sherry?
So that's in your packet, and at the time of the meeting, when I sent this out, there's no attendance to mark yet. We haven't had the learning period hasn't ended, so that's why I put NA, but enrollment, you see Humboldt was at 410 on that day, and Siskiyou was at 155 on that day. It could be a little different now. Just one thing to add in there, we talked about whether or not schools would get funding for any growth this year. That bill was passed that allowed schools to receive money for growth, with the exception of non-classroom based charter schools. That was ultimately in the bill when that was passed. So though our enrollment is up significantly from where it was at this time last year, we will not receive funding for any more than what we had on February 29th of this past school year. So we definitely have additional students that we are not receiving funding for.
Oh, well. Any comments or questions?
I don't have any.
None? All right, then moving on to 6.2, the financial report.
So that also is in your packet. It's kind of the same financial report that you see every month, kind of just a summary of what was spent during the month of August, any funds received, and all the expenditures. So that's in there for Humboldt and Siskiyou. I don't know if anybody had any specific questions.
Are there? All right. Moving on to 6.3, the director's report. Sherry.
So I just wanted to put out there, I think some of you guys have responded. There are 2 opportunities for board trainings if you're interested. One is an online through the Charter School Development Center. It's free to us if our membership is still, I think our membership is still like good for another couple months. We're not going to renew it. So just as a budget saving measure for this year. But if anybody's interested in that, let me know. And that's just a self-paced, do it when you can kind of thing. And then the other one is Young Mini and Core, which is our legal firm. And there's 2 different dates that you can choose from. One is September 15th during the day from 10 to 11:30. One is September 16th from 7 to 8:30 at night in the evening, if that works better for you. And it's $30. And it's on like the Brown Act and conflict of interest. It's one that I know that Jerry and Bianca and Rosemary have all attended before. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. If anybody's interested, let me know and I'll give you the details on it. Another thing that I wanted
Jerry?
to mention, yes. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jerry.
I was just going to say that is the one that I personally highly recommend.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe speaking for both Bianca and Rosemary, that especially the second one, that we feel was extremely significant and beneficial.
Mhm.
So I just want to put that out there.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to mention a couple things. First, this is kind of some unfortunate news. Our Cutton Resource Center had a break-in a couple weeks ago, and they used a crowbar and pried open a door one night, and took a variety of items, a couple laptops, our 3D printer, an iPad, a portable scanner and printer. There, we have a vending machine in there. They broke into the vending machine and took the money out of the vending machine. An Xbox, just a variety of things. And to be honest, I have a feeling there's some things that were taken that we're still not even aware of yet, and it may take us a while to know, because this time of year we're getting lots of deliveries. And so there were lots of cardboard boxes in there that had been delivered, you know, from UPS or whatever, that the teacher just hadn't come and picked up yet. And we probably won't realize that something was missing until a teacher says, hey, I haven't gotten my stuff yet. And then we do the research and they say, oh, it was delivered on this date. You know, so there's still maybe things that come up that we're unaware of. But we did file a police report. We made a claim with our insurance company. We contacted the local pawn shops because, I mean, I just kind of feel like a 3D printer and, you know, those kinds of things would turn up at a pawn shop. And so unfortunately, I just wanted you guys to be aware that that had happened. We fixed the place where the crowbar, they tried every door, and you could see that they tried every door because there were pry marks, in the wood of every door, and one they were successful with. So that one we've changed the way that the locks were, we changed it to a different kind of deadbolt so that it couldn't be broken into. And then, we'd really like to get cameras and an alarm system, but at this time, money is a serious issue, with the budget. So we haven't done that at this point. We did check with Caldwell Banker, who does have cameras, and that must have been your question, Rosemary. We did check with them, and no luck with the footage. So anyway, that's just unfortunate. I also wanted to let you know that I'm pretty much up to my eyeballs in audits right now. So our annual audit that we have every year, independent audit, that starts next week on September 16th for our business records and board meetings and things like that. And then student records portion of it is in October 13th. In addition to that, our cafeteria program is undergoing what's called an administrative review, and that audit of the cafeteria program happens every 3 years. That one, it will be happening in February. So that one we still have a little bit of time on. Also related to our cafeteria program, there's something called a procurement audit. That's happening as well this year, and that happens every 6 years. And that I have to have all the information submitted by September 30th. So that's something I'm working on right now. And then finally, I got a letter, an email from the state controller's office. They pulled Mattole Valley Charter School to audit their Prop 39 projects. So for those of you who don't know, Prop 39 was, I don't even know what year it was passed. I'm going to say it was probably around 2012 or so. And what it was a proposition that was to give taxpayer dollars to public entities like schools to do energy efficiency projects in their buildings so that they could recoup the cost of they could recoup the dollars in their electric bills from the energy efficiency projects. So all schools who applied were awarded the money, and it was for 3 years. Every year, we were awarded funds to do these projects. And so that was Mattole Valley Charter School. And so it has been pulled for an audit. Well, you guys know Mattole Valley Charter School is closed. And because I was the one that oversaw those projects when we did those, then I'm the point of contact for the state controller's office for this audit. And that audit is also September 30th through October 2nd. So I've been gathering the documents for that now. I'm working, when we did that, we hired a project manager consultant, Redwood Coast Energy Authority, to help us with that whole process. And so they're helping us with this audit, as well as I've spoken with HCOE about it. And it's interesting, it's talking with the auditor about it. It's very messy in that the charter school has closed, but all of the facilities where the projects were done are currently being leased by a charter school, 3 different charter schools, in fact. Northern United Humboldt Charter School is leasing some of those facilities. Northern United Siskiyou Charter School is leasing some of those facilities. And another charter school in Mendocino County is leasing one of the facilities that used to be a Mattole Valley Charter School. So all of the facilities where projects were done are still being leased by public schools. However, part of the deal with the grant was the entity that received the grant was the one who was supposed to receive the benefit from the cost, the efficiency. And so the auditor said she hasn't come to this before, where the school was closed, so therefore is not getting the benefit. And so she said she was going to have to talk to her supervisor about that to know what to do. And she said, worst case scenario, the school would have to pay back the funds that they used to make those projects. And I said, well, the school's closed. There's no school to pay back the funds. So that's why I really wanted HCOE involved in this as well, so that they could also kind of argue the point that I'm making, which is the point of it was to make sure that public agencies had energy efficient buildings and therefore had lower utility bills. That is still happening with every single one of the projects that were done. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but it is going to take a lot of time. And it's a little weird because it's taking, a lot of my time, yet it's for Mattole Valley Charter School, which doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So I just wanted you to be aware that that's something I'm, working on right now. Another thing that I wanted to tell you about, and this is really the biggie, this is the thing I think we're probably going to have, I know we'll have to have a special board meeting about this at some point, but so you guys know that with the state of the state's budget this year, they decided to go ahead and not make the cuts for us, for schools, public schools, that they were going to make, but instead they're going to do deferrals. What they're deferring 30% of our revenue during the 2021 school year. So you might remember the cuts they were proposing before they decided to not make the cuts and do deferrals instead was 10% of our budget. Well, 30% of our revenue is what's going to be deferred during this year. Because of that, pretty much every school in the state, unless they have an enormous special reserve fund, is going to have to take out a loan. And I think that includes both of our schools as well. And so HCOE and SCOE both forwarded to all the schools the one that they're feeling is the best one at this point. It's called a trans. And it's the trans loan is being done by the California School Finance Authority. That's who's issuing these loans. I have a meeting on Monday to discuss it with HCOE, and the purpose of the loan is to get you through the months where cash flow is an issue, the months that those deferrals are happening, so that you're able to make payroll and things like that. There are, varying terms of the loan. You have to pay it back in 13 months. There's different things. It's very low interest. We have to apply for the loan by September 25th, though that's an initial application date. You're under no obligation to take the loan at that point or anything. That's just, you have to, if you think you're going to need it in February, you have to apply by September 25th. And then you have to have board approval of it by January 4th. And then the state's school finance authority has to approve your application January 11th. You get a credit rating in January 18th, and the interest rate is determined on February 1st. And then it closes and the funds are available February 22nd. And the reason why it's February is because that's when the first deferral hits. And so we won't be getting the apportionment from the state that we would normally get in the month of February, nor will we get one in March and April and May. I mean, really, the deferrals are pretty crazy from that point on in the spring. So I just wanted to give you heads up that this is something that we're looking into for both of the schools. I will definitely know more information after my meeting on Monday. We've been talking about it. You guys know how each week I meet with the county office superintendents as well as all of the districts. And this has been a topic of conversation for everybody. And I think, it remains to be seen, but I do think that it looks like we're going to need to take these to be able to meet our payroll and bills for both schools. So anyway, ray of sunshine. Here I am. Jeff, you have your hand up.
Thank you for the sunshine. So do we have a specific, maybe that's a bad question, but do we have a kind of a general dollar amount?
Not yet. Not yet.
We need to target to be able to kind of get.
Right. Not yet. I think they want us to get a little closer so that we can kind of nail it down, as we get closer. Like I said, this September 25th date is just kind of like, hey, we're interested, and then as we get closer, we'll have to submit documents, but they only give you the amount that you are short. So this isn't a general purpose loan. It's very specific dollar amount that's determined based on every individual school or district's cash flow needs for those months. So as we get closer, we'll know the dollar amount. Right now, it's so hard to know because, we know what our apportionment would be in February, but right now it's too soon to say how short from that difference will, what that difference will be at this point. So we can only take out a loan for that difference through the school finance authority.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me, the deferral, is it into the next school year? Or?
Correct. And they already let us know that next school year there will be deferrals as well. So this year and next year there will be deferrals. So I think the assumption is another trans would probably have to be taken out again next school year as well at some point.
Okay. And then I had another question that I'm forgetting. Oh, so the trans loan, is that what's typical of districts to do, or is that the only thing that's available to us? Is this the best things that is available to us? I'm just curious if there's other options. Or
it's interesting because normally trans loans are not, usually they're not, they don't always allow charter schools to do those. And charter schools often have to get private financing. Yeah. So going to a bank, and there are lots of companies that do it for, give loans to charter schools. That's what they do. This time around, they have said that this trans in particular will have a charter school program as well. So to answer your question, yes, trans are what is commonly done by school districts, not usually by charter schools. Charter schools usually have to get a private loan.
Okay.
And just so you know, trans stands for Tax and Revenue Anticipation Note. And it's basically what they're doing is it's like a statewide pool that they're letting the California School Finance Authority has a statewide pool that they're going to issue these loans to all of the districts in the state to. And like I said, that happens periodically. I mean, I would think it would only happen if a district was in a pretty serious bind. The last time there were deferrals, like I know over in Humboldt County, I know McKinleyville Middle School had to take out a loan. And they ended up getting like a really bad loan. I don't know why they weren't able to get one of these like state funded trans, but I don't think it's something that's done very often. It's certainly not something that I ever anticipated having to do. But, this is, I don't know that we're going to have a choice this time around.
And do you have any idea, does anyone have any idea as to what the next school year's percentage of the deferral will be?
No, I don't know. I have not heard what that percentage is going to be. And my guess is it will be based on what tax revenue ends up being like, before that budget is adopted. So, that budget, next year's school budget, state budget won't be adopted until before July 1. So I'm sure it'll depend on, what the tax revenue, the tax generated, in the state looks like prior to that.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? All right, moving on to 6.4, Northern United Humboldt Charter School Report. It's in the packet. Does Julia or Rebecca want to make any additional comments?
I would just like to say that, it is in your packet, but just remembering, Bryceland today. I mean, I know that they're having to cancel a lot of the meetings with their students and their families right now due to the evacuation. And I was in touch with Lori Weiler today and Ella, and there's a lot of stress and a lot of strain with, of course, the COVID and then all of the new teaching responsibilities, and now with them being in evacuation. So just wanted to, remind us all to keep them close to our hearts, because I think they're really going through it right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Any comments or questions? All right, moving on to 6.5, Northern United Siskiyou Charter School Report. And again, it's in our packet. Kurt, you want to add anything? Really like the picture of the sign and the awning there.
Yeah, everybody else has these doom and gloom reports, and here, hey, we got a new awning. But no, actually, I do want to echo what Julie said. We have a teacher still with one student in Happy Camp, and both of their houses, they don't know for sure, but are very likely gone. And so, in the coming days and weeks, we'll be looking for ways to support them.
Good. Yeah, the wildfires are especially tragic. Any comment or questions for Kurt? No? All right, moving on, 6.6 board report. Bianca, do you have anything to share?
I don't, not this month.
Rosemary?
I do.
Good.
I would like to say that I attended both the Eureka Learning Center, their first back to school night, as well as the Cutton Learning Center's back to school night via Zoom. I felt that both of them had very good turnout, valid questions and concerns from the parents and the students. Kudos to Julie and Rebecca. They set a very positive tone, welcoming tone, reassuring tone to the new families. It was great. I also want to give kudos to Kirk. I too enjoyed the picture of the door and the awning, and I am a visual person and I love the color-coded schedule. I have one more thing, and that is I talked to my quality control boys. My little guy that's in 5th grade absolutely loves the distant learning. He feels that he can focus all of the time. There's no distractions, which I think he was probably part of the distractions, but he really loves that. Misses recess and lunch. His older brother at the high school, he's going with the flow, but at school with staff and his peers. And that's it for me.
Okay. Very good, Rosemary. I have nothing to share. So moving on, next board meeting.
Did Jeff have something to share?
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry, Jeff. Sorry. Apologize, Jeff.
Just a comment. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Kirk, for sharing your video. It was good.
Yeah, I thought it only fitting that I include a picture of the awning that I fell underneath. You're muted.
Anything else, Jeff? Okay. Moving on to 7, next board meeting. 7.1, possible agenda items would be the approval of the learning continuity and attendance plan for both Northern United Humboldt Charter School and Siskiyou Charter School.
And
Anything
you guys
else?
saw that, yeah, you guys saw that I added the unaudited actuals on there too. We still haven't received them from either HCOE or SCOE, and it's on the agenda for tomorrow.
Yeah.
They have to be approved by September 15th.
Yeah.
So if we don't end up getting them before the board meeting tomorrow, we'll have to have another meeting on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Anything else? Bianca, Rosemary, or Jeff? No?
No.
All right. The next board meeting is tomorrow, September 11th, 4 p.m. Be there or be square.
Everybody tomorrow.
With that, Linda, I adjourn this meeting at 5:00.